Can you tweet mine? Actually. What's going on, everyone? It's LFC Transfer Room here, and I completely forgot to tweet out the stream, so nobody will be watching this at the moment. But I am joined today by Matty, Kev, and Kings. Matty, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. I'm bored. The Reds aren't playing, so I don't really watch any footy other than Liverpool, so I'm a bit bored, but not bad. Not bad. How are you, Jim?
Not bad. I watched the West Ham Bristol City game and lost the will. It was a dry one.
Super Joe.
It gives everyone a reason to tweet Mikel Antonio, though, doesn't it? Oh, we're going to finish above them. We're going to be so much better. And then he gets all upset when people sort of call him out. As Jay Muse says, Joe. Super Kev. How are you doing, sir?
Hi, Jay Moose. Oh, hi to Jen when she eventually gets on. I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. During this lull of football, I tend to go back to my NFL. So my NFL's keeping me happy, and with the Packers winning against the Cowboys, it's kind of like giving me a bit of confidence. But that'll soon go after we play the 49ers. So yeah, all good, mate. All good.
I've tried getting into American football. The thing I struggle with is there's 11 minutes of game time, isn't there? Like in 3 hours.
15. Yeah.
Which is, if you think that's 5 minutes for the attack, 5 minutes for the defense, it's like, well, that's a lot of waiting around, which I just can't do. I just get bored. But Kings, first time on with myself, Matty, and Kev. How are you doing? How you been keeping? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for the Kevathon as it's going on?
Well, yeah. First off, I'm doing fine, thanks, guys. I think Matty really stole my thunder because when Liverpool are not on, it's like, what do you do? It's boring. So I'm glad that their mini winter break is already coming to an end and there's going to be a game. As for being on myself, I'm looking forward to it. And then, as I've already said to Kev in the comments, I think it was Jen put in the comments last week that I look like Kev. So it's like I was intrigued to meet him and
Kev
see what it's like. So yeah, and I've read a lot about him in the group chats as well. So it could be an interesting one.
Well, we're going to start today by looking at a story that's come out about Steven Gerrard looking at more Liverpool players to bring over to El Hatiak because obviously he's ripped up Henderson's contract. That leaves him about £8 million for them to spend a bit of cash, a bit of January money, get some players in. And the players that they've been linked with are Thiago and Matip. Now, I was going to start with Matty, but Matty will go, no, we'll sell him for any money in the world. So I'll start with you, Kings, because you might actually give me a number. What number would you sell Matip for, considering he's got 6 months left? And what would you sell Thiago to Saudi for?
I mean, the problem is, obviously, with Matip, he's injured now, so he's not going to be much use to us until, well, if he stays for another year, which I think is unlikely, then he's not going to do anything until next season. So do they really want him? I don't know. Putting a figure on it's a difficult one, to be honest. Last 6 months, and how old is he now? Is he about 32?
32-ish, yeah.
So you're not going to 3 or 4
million
million
contract, send him on his way.
Yeah, to be honest, it wouldn't bother me, and that doesn't mean I'm disrespecting him. He's been all right for Liverpool, but it's like I think it's time to move on now with somebody else possibly.
Matt, he's definitely top 5, isn't he, in free signings Liverpool have ever made? Like, if you think in the Premier League era, anyway, Matip. But if he decided to leave, it's go. Huh? Number 1.
Yeah, he's the best free signing. Yeah. When Matip's fit on him, he's the second best centre back in the world. I rate him that high. When Matip, we've been blessed with Joel Matip. When he's on it, there's very few in the world who come close to him and Van Dijk as a partnership. Them two are absolutely incredible. And obviously, I don't think he'll go this summer. I think he'll get a contract extension because we've seen in previous players, they all get extensions if they have a long-term injury. So I think he'll get another year and then he will depart for nothing. I don't think we'll make money on Matip, but you're not making nothing, you're not losing nothing because we got him for nothing anyway. So I'm not against that either. I know you said you'll get no number off me, but with Matip, I don't believe. With Thiago, I think he's going to go anyway. Yeah, but he's never going to play every week anyway. He never has. So I'm not against getting that extension because every other player's got it and Matip deserves it, to be fair. He's an absolute legend of the club. And with Thiago, I would let him go, to be fair. For me, he's one of the best midfielders I've ever seen play for Liverpool. He's that good when he's at it. But he's probably going to go at the end of the year anyway for nothing. So if you were to get like 10, 15 mil for him now and you've only paid 10, 15 mil for him and taking it off the fee, then I'd be all for it. As much as I do think having him fit for even 10 games a season, it helps. When he plays this year, it'll be the best Liverpool performance you see. He's that good.
This is the thing. I agree he's that good, but I think the way we're starting to evolve now is so much more energy in the middle of the park, and Curtis has kind of taken that position. I don't think he'd play 6. I think Gravenberch's coming through. I don't think he's there yet. So, Kev, what do you think? Do you think there's a place for Thiago even in this squad? The way that he plays is, he orchestrates, doesn't it? And we don't really orchestrate from midfield the same way anymore. That's sort of Trent's job now.
We don't, but there is times in games where you do highly need a Thiago to break down certain teams. Perfect example, the 2 games we've had at home where we've drawn, Arsenal and Man United. To have Thiago on the bench could have meant we could have created more if Thiago was available and came through. So that's the kind of difference of a squad player that Thiago is. He is a, you're not, as Matty quite rightly says, you're not going to get a full season out of him, but the times that you do get out of him, you're blessed to witness such a great player that he is. Sadly, you don't see enough of it, and you want to see more. It wants you to have more. But for me, it's I hate to be all on the Matty show, but I tend to agree with himself with Matip as well. I think Matip has earned his decision with us as well. So he's another one who's great with us. Do you know what I mean? So Thiago, for me, he'll eventually go, but I hate these people who go, well, he's been paid 6.8 million since his last game. Double it for me. He's a quality player, deserves it.
Give him another year off.
Yeah, give him another year off. Extend it.
I genuinely think if we renew Matip's contract for another year, seeing as it's an ACL and it could be a long-term injury, Damo might have an aneurysm of talking about how this is classic Klopp moves of being too loyal and should be more ruthless. And I do think it will be an interesting one, Kings, to see what Klopp does with Matip, because I don't necessarily think Matty's wrong or Kev's wrong in saying that we've shown loyalty in the past. We showed it to Oxlade-Chamberlain. We gave him a long time and a new contract. But I think Klopp's also learned a lot over the last 12 months in terms of rebuilding that entire midfield. So I think it will be really key. Is he more ruthless and lets players go? Or does he give him that extension?
I think from Klopp's point of view, he'll want to give him an extension. And he'll still want to get somebody in to replace him, but then he can keep him in the background and go, right, you're going to play X amount of games probably this season. You may not be first choice. I don't know, but it doesn't always come down to Klopp, does it? So it's like behind the scenes politics. They might look at it and say, well, do you know what? We don't need him. Let him go. So you got 2 different things at play. I think Klopp personally would say, yes, we'll keep him and use him. I'm not going to say 10 times, particularly. He could come into the side and be fantastic and earn his place back in permanent. But I think Klopp may keep him on with the attitude of we'll use him through the season in certain games.
Now, Jen, thank you very much. Always supporting the stream. Super sticker. Obviously, the bit of a Kev loving, which is brilliant. But thank you very much, Jen, for supporting the channel. We're always there. We're so close to 10K. We're so close to the 10K quiz. So if you are new here, subscribe to the channel. It's an LFC fan channel. We go live every day at 7:30. Please make sure that you join us whenever you can. And we'll talk about anything going on, transfer related, Liverpool related, and all the news that's going on. So I think we're collective agreement, I think we've got is keep Thiago, keep Matip, Go away, Gerrard. You can't have him. You could have Thiago if you paid what we paid for him, which is about 15 to 20 million. And if Thiago wants to go, that's fine, because that's kind of where we're at. But unless we get a bit of money, we don't really want to let him go. Is that pretty much where we're at?
I mean,
yeah.
Do you think any would go now, given like Henderson's coming back, Fabinho wants to get off, Benzema's apparently reported wanting to get off? Like, do you think any footballer's going to look at it now and think Saudi Arabia is where I want to be? Like,
I personally don't, especially with the attendance that you're receiving. Plus, it's you've got a Euros coming up, so what's the point in going to there if you've got a big international tournament at the end of this year? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to me to be going to the Saudi League. Only if it's near the end of your career and you've got no point of playing for your international team. But Thiago, it was disinterested at the start of this season when it was all getting talked about. I think it's a bit of a stop at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Because you look at the fan base, you look at the attendances and how bad it is as well. It's a piss poor league. It's worse than the French league. Do you know what I mean? It's bad. Even I would look good.
But it depends on the province. Like obviously, certain provinces, the ones with the bigger populace of people, have more people going to games. I think like El Etihad they've never really had football there, and I think where Saudi Arabia throwing money at something's works is if you look at boxing, it's worked really well. They've got some really good fights, and it used to be Vegas, and now it's Saudi Arabia. And they're trying to do, and they did the same with cricket, with golf, with the Live Golf League. They're trying to do football, but I think football is just too culturally ingrained in locations for people to go, oh, I'm going to watch Saudi Arabian football now, because it's not connected to European football. You're not hoping your team gets to the Champions League and stuff like that. I think they've got problems. But, you could go there for 6 months, right? And then go to Ajax and defer all your tax and, make a killing, even for 6 months. Not that, you weren't predicting that's what Henderson was doing.
Everyone creams over Endo. He's this model player. He was going out to Saudi Arabia to solve all the issues. No, he wasn't. He was going for a payday. He's not paying tax, so he's a rat. Doesn't care about the working class. Like it's just one of them, innit? He's showing his true colours. Sad considering how much he did do for the club. To be fair, and captain for our first Premier League and that, but. When I see now he deferred his wages, and now it's just like, you little rat. Like, one of them, and you're earning enough money to pay your dues and stuff to the country you're from, and sod them.
I think the thing with Saudi Arabia is, lots of people jumped on this bandwagon, and a few years ago it was, we're all going to China. This big explosion, the Chinese league's going to be, and they started signing players, and of course the bottom fell out of that quite quickly. And this has done the same thing, because obviously there's the things surrounding their human rights records and all that kind of, I don't want to get political on all that, but it's still there. The mud's still there. It's sticking quite a lot. And I think, well, these players go there. Henderson had a big backlash, obviously, from the communities over here that he was like purporting to support, and then goes to places like that, and his name becomes a bit like mud, really, isn't it? So, but you got Benzema, Ronaldo's the only one. He's the biggest name out there. And other people thought, well, if he can do it, we can do it. And he's a different class. His name is the same as Messi. It's up there at the top. So it's like, right, he's not in a way going to get that tarnished. Everybody else goes, and then they soon realize it's actually not what we wanted. It's I can understand why Hendo's going to Ajax. I think now his career is on the way, and for his age anyway. So he's kind of like, well, I'll come back, do the best I can somewhere else. It was interesting. Nobody has come forward to say they wanted him back in the Premier League. I don't mean out of us, no teams come for him. They were just like, even if he wanted to say it doesn't matter about the tax, nobody seemed to go in for him from the Premier League all of a sudden.
Yeah, I struggle a little bit when you think about the Saudis and the human rights and everything like that. Not because obviously I have multiple issues with the way that they go about bits and pieces and stuff like that, but people in glass houses can't throw stones, and there are a million things that we all do day to day that is connected to horrific human rights violations. You know, you look at the sports and sponsors and stuff like that. So whilst it's, fine, grade Hendo, he went to make a selfish decision. That was his decision. If he owned it and said, I'm going for money, I'd have respected him more than saying, I'm going to change something. Because I'd have got the logic.
Like, you can understand why Stevie went there. His managerial career is just done. It's done, innit? And he's went there, get a fat payday, and now he can do really what he wanted. It makes sense because Gerrard will stick it out till he gets sacked. And he's set for life with the money he's going to get. Hendo, obviously, he's obviously got like his kids in there. And I'm not saying Stevie hasn't, but for Hendo, he's still playing. So it was stupid for him to ever go there, to be honest. I think he's only took 18 months to help tax reasons, and then also he'll come back if Sunderland get up next season. That's what he's waiting for. He's waiting to finish his career with Sunderland, but his ego's too big to get him to play in the Championship. That's his issue. He's got a massive ego, massive. That's why this little idiot went and offered himself to Barcelona. Like, he's just got this big mad ego. He left Liverpool because he learned he weren't going to be playing every week. Like, that's just, you just got to accept it.
Barcelona as well. They haven't got back to me yet, but I'm waiting for a call.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Like, he can't look at himself and think he should be starting every week for Liverpool, and that's why he left. He weren't happy to be a team player, and that's where my issue starts with him. Really, that he openly said he got off because he found out he weren't playing every week. Now, I like that mentality, but Stevie G didn't play every week when he was towards the end of his career, and he's 100 times the player Jordan Henderson was, and he didn't even play every week. So, why do you expect it at that age and stuff? It's mad.
Now, we're going to move on, but I think Jamie summarises it really well, which is Hendo will receive incredibly bad abuse for going there. LFC supporters will eventually forgive but not forget. And I think that probably summarises it. He's been a great captain to us, but we won't forget the decisions that he made and the reasons that he made those decisions and stuff like that. So I think that's fair. You know, he did great. He did achieve great things. He was a great captain for Klopp, but he made some very selfish decisions that were, detrimental to the things that he was trying to promote. Now, we're going to move forward. That's the past. Old man, no longer in the game. We're going to start to talk about brand new. Liverpool are getting linked with young centre-backs all over the world, some of the most up-and-coming centre-backs. And I've got a list here of centre-backs for the three of you and for everyone in chat, which is Lenny Yoro, Sepp van der Berg, Asuma Diomande, Levi Colwill, Jarrell Kwanzaa, and as a point of reference, Kanate. Because Kanate will be one of our leading centre-backs moving forward, so it will be someone who plays alongside him. But the reason I've got Kanate's stats here is it's a good bit of comparison, isn't it? It's a good to see, can someone get up to his level? I'm not comparing him to Van Dijk because Kanate might still get up there, but they won't have that data as of yet. Now, Kings, I'll start with you. Which of the players, Yoro, Van der Berg, Diomande, Colwill, Kwanzaa, do you think is really going to sort of claim that Kanate spot? And if you had to sign one, which obviously you can't sign Kwanzaa because he's already here, who would you go for?
Well,
I'm
on previous shows,
he's on loan, so yeah.
I'll be honest, on previous shows, we've had different chats with Damon and stuff like that about, the defence, etc. And come back to the same thing. They got Kwanzaa there, and they must rate him highly because he's starting to play him a little bit more each time now. And I think they really do rate him. And we got to a point, I don't want to go off on a tangent about it, but they're looking at, obviously, they chat quite often about bringing in number 6 to protect the defence. And I think if they do that and they got somebody steady there, the defence could, I think, have somebody like Kwanzaa in, learning from Van Dijk, and I think he'd be quite protected. So I think he's good to keep growing into the side. As for some of the others, I don't know some of them. The first one, what did you say? Yoro, was it?
Yeah, the 17-year-old at Lille.
Now, I mean, Liverpool do have this thing, or they did originally, going in for younger players and then getting them to play better, putting a price on their head. They'd move off to Madrid or Barcelona, etc., and they make a ton of money on them. In this case, have we got time to sign somebody who's 17 and take ages to start coming through again if they've already got a youngster coming through? How are they going to blood him or somebody like that if they've already got a youngster there trying to learn from Van Dijk as it is? So any of them are good prospects. It's just, would they get a lot of game time to mature into a top-rated player?
I always think about with young players, like someone like Gerrard Quanta is going to have a really shitty patch. He's going to be completely off it. He's going to make a billion mistakes. He's going to have a bad patch, and he's expected. He's a young kid. He's going to go through those periods, or he might get a knock and an injury. You're going to need a squad of central defenders. So there will be periods. I think if you think Matip's out probably for the season, I think Matip might take a little bit longer to come back. There is probably space for another centre back. It's just, how do you want to play it? And I guess my, Muse is talking here. Do you go for Colwill with the left foot? Diomande is a big, powerful, almost Canate like sporting centre back. Sepp van der Berg has just set land speed record in Bundesliga football, beating Mickey van der Ven, who's fastest sprinted central defender in the Bundesliga history now. And then you got Yoro, who seems this quick, athletic, almost Van Dijk-esque type player who seems to get involved in all the play and everything like that. Like, where do you want to go tactically, Matty? And maybe we'll match the defender to your wants and needs.
I'm quite interested that Van den Berg's rated that highly, really, in the centre back list. So I'd quite like to wait and bring him back and see what he's made of, because I'm a bit firm believer in promoting from within, and we bought him very young from a very relatively unknown team from Holland. Brought him in. People thought he hasn't hit heights because they expect him to come in and start, when really they've come in, they've nurtured him, they've given him the right low moves. And if he's excelling that much in the Bundesliga, we might have our answer right there. And although everyone wants to see new signings, Kwanzaa's proved it this season that we've got a fantastic plethora of talent in that youth system. Phillips can't wait to see the back of him. He's robbed the living. But with Van den Berg, I'm amazed at that. So I'd quite like to probably go and watch some of his games, to be fair, and see how he has played this year and see if he fits in. Because if he's performing that well against other centre backs there, you sort of say Colwill, you're talking like 70 mil to get Chelsea to the table, I think. If Van den Berg's performing that well, why can't he come in and make that difference? The only reason fans will say no chance is because we bought him a few years ago and he hasn't come in and played. But that was probably never our plan for him anyway, to be fair. And if he's setting records in the Bundesliga, I would rather give him a try, because the last few players we brought out the academy have done very well. If you think about it, since Trent, we've had Jones, Bajcetic, Kwanzaa all come through and really stamped the name on the side, really. And now you've probably got Bradley making his name for himself. You've got Ben Doak, he's in the first team setup now. So we've got all these kids we brought in so young. And the whole purpose was to nurture them, teach them the Liverpool way, and then let them free when they were ready. And now it's finally happened. Everyone's like, oh, we need to buy a player. But we might actually have someone in Van den Berg. Out of the players, if we had to buy someone, I quite like the look of that Yoro. I don't like Colwill. I think this season I've thought we've dodged a bit of a bullet with him. I know he was fantastic in the kids' Euros and stuff for England, but what I've seen of him in the Premier League, he took John Terry's number. He's already had pressure at such a young age. That mentality at first, I was like, yeah, he hasn't impressed me at Chelsea. I don't think there's no one really in, like your Colwills now. I think, yeah, they come in and improve Liverpool, because I rate Kwanzaa that highly. And now, because you've mentioned Sepp van den Berg ranking against these players we're looking at, I'm quite intrigued to have a look at how Sepp's getting on, to be honest. Because he's massive, he's huge, he's perfect centre-back.
Pace is obviously really important in the Liverpool backline due to how high we play up. Canate is one of the quickest. Joe Gomez is one of the quickest. For some reason, our fullbacks are not the quickest, but our centre-backs are. But, Kev, let me give you this. Tackles and interceptions per 90 minutes across the career, right? All the defenders that we've gone through. Diamande's second to last with 2.5 per game. Kwanzaa, 2.67 per game. Yoro, 2.88. Colwill, 3.08. Canate, 3.34. Sepp van der Berg leads the table with 3.41 tackles and interceptions per game. And he's third in clearances per game at 3.75. He's seemingly, from a statistical point of view, very much a defender's defender. He seems to get involved, win the ball back and move forward. And a lot of his stats are very matching of Ibrahim Canate. Do you think he could make it back?
there is potential there. You look to where, as Matty quite rightly says, look at, if you look at where he's moved to in the Championship and the games he's had there, that will bring him on leaps and bounds again. Then to go and play in the German League, which he has done, which is 16 games or 17 games this season, albeit he's got a suspension, his yellow cards have got him a suspension, but there is a progressiveness with him. It's took a bit of time for him to reach these heights, and that's where the ability of bringing players and putting them on the loan move to the right clubs works to our advantage. That's why we bring players back if they're not getting played in the right sense. It's great to see that he's actually been allowed to. Who came in with all leaps and bounds. He was from the Ajax Academy originally. He came from that a club in Holland that Matty says he's come through that. He's got the technique of a Dutch player, but he's been allowed to progress and get to his level at his own pace, which is great to see. And you're seeing that with him going and doing what he's doing. He's got on with his game, and he's got himself developed in a way that he can now be integrated back in the summer, say, and then he is part of the squad if that's the way we need to go. But I'd like to say, I agree with what Matty said. It's great that his stats are up there, but I'd like to see him play. It's for me, it's the eye. I need to see the eye. It's great that those stats are showing that he has got the confidence, and he is getting to those levels, and he's got the ability to be better than Kanate. But I need to see who that's against and how he's playing against a Harry Kane or against anyone else in that league. Do you know what I mean? Someone with pace. How did he play against the Leipzig player who's gone to Chelsea or no? That's why I want to say, I'd like to see how he is and how he looks in the game and how he develops. I think there's quite a few out there. There's one that we haven't mentioned, which is Kevin Mantilla from the Colombian one from Bogota. Yeah. He's another one. He's transitioned from an attacking player to an actual centre back and is 6'3", wins aerials, snipping into tackles, keeps it simple, recycle possession. The problem with Yoro, which I've read about, I haven't seen any of this, but it's what I've read, and the ability to execute rapid bursts and maintain some, I had to write it down, some of the calm using long stride. So his long stride gets him out of problems, and he can play wide centre-back with him because of that, and he uses that. And he's played the right centre back as well, able to recover when the winger's trying to go with him at pace. So he has that ability. There is a downside to Yoro, which is that because he's 100% proactive in winning challenges, can that be used against him and be brought by when he's playing against top teams who could have the ability to draw him out of the position and creating space for an attacker who's playing alongside him. So there's still a bit of progression with them. I think what we've seen with a lot of these young players that they have the ability, and especially Mantilla. I think Mantilla, we noticed them in the under-20 South American Championship. So we have. It's nice that we've got the scouts, and rightly so. We should be linked to all these quality players, but as Matty quite rightly says, there's an academy there. We're all under one roof now, so it makes the ability of seeing these young players even more better than what we had previously when we were at Melwood. Klopp's outside his window. He's got to see that on a regular basis. It gives them the ability to move them straight away and move them up and playing with the squad and train with the squad, which then means that you'll probably now see, as we've seen since we've moved up to the academy, that we are now seeing quite a few of the young players finding a progression and a trainer them coming through at the minute. And I think that will continue. And it'll probably be more of a peak now than what it's ever been, because of how we've integrated not only the youth but also the main squad up there as well. Sorry for the long-winded answer there.
No, don't you worry. It allowed me to find how Sepp van der Berg's done in individual games using who scored, and I think his highest who scored rating. So again, it's statistical based, which is against Leipzig, which is 7.76, and he got a 6.55 against Bayern, which isn't great. Jay Muse was asking, how is he in the air? And I think that's probably one of his areas of weakness. His win percentage in the air is 62.4, but his recoveries is better than everyone else. But if you take 62.4, compare that to Konate's 71.6, it's the Premier League. That's one of the areas where they really come for you in terms, especially Liverpool, like in terms of we don't flood people back. I think if there was an area we needed to improve, it would probably be aerial dominance. He's great at recoveries, leads in that way, but it's that sometimes it's that presence and bulking out into your frame, isn't it, Kings? Because he's 22. Yeah. He's not everyone wakes up at 14 years old and is built like Konate and just like that, or Kwanzaa. Some people take time to build into a frame, don't they?
How old is Konate? I can't remember. So
I think he's 23, 22, 23.
24 years old and 237 days. So he'll be 25 in about 3 months.
So when you look at going back to the first one, we said he's 17 years old. Between 17, 22 to 25, their body's going to change vastly. And that's why some players who have lots of potential maybe don't make it in the end, because their bodies change in such a way that it just doesn't work for them. Others, as we've seen with players years ago, like Michael Owen, come through at 17 and they take the world by storm because they just, until they get a major injury. But somebody like Sepp van der Berg, he's 22 years of age, he's 6'4", and he's gone out and got a lot of experience, like Kev was saying, and Matty was saying before that. I agree with what Kev said about the academy and everything. Now, being under one roof as such, the youngsters go in there and they look at the first team in front of them and they're like, right, they're over there on that pitch. That's where I want to play. So they maybe just give that few extra percentage, because instead of being tucked away and they're going, well, one day you can be like those up the road, you can see them playing type of thing, can't you? So it's like, right, I want to be like Mo Salah or Van Dijk or whoever's in front of them. And that gives them that little edge of incentive, I think, to try that little bit harder. I said on last week's show, I'd gone to the Fulham semi-final game in the League Cup, and I watched Conor Bradley. And to be fair to the guy, he was absolutely immense, I thought, anyway. Do you know what I mean? Especially second half. I mean, the team weren't the best in the first half as a collective. In the second half, he was fantastic. And I'm thinking, right, that's a point there. Like we're saying, with the youngsters, is you have an academy for a reason. If you're just going to go out and say, right, well, we link with him, yeah, we'll buy him, what's the point of having the academy and getting 200 young lads to be in your defensive area and then going, right, well, we're not picking any of you, actually, we found someone else for £50 million, we're going to buy him. There's no point. There's no point of having the academy. So I think, all right, Sepp's gone out and had some experience now as well. And could he come back and integrate in? I personally don't believe they're going to buy anybody defensively in January. So if he comes back in the summer and has a full pre-season with them, they can really assess him and say, right, you've got Kwanzaa, you've got Konate, you'll have Sepp van der Berg, and then you'll have Van Dijk. That'll be 4 potentially ready to go defenders.
Then as well, haven't you, in terms of the variable for everything?
Yeah. But it just comes down to age. I mean, at 22, you might say, oh, he's not quite good enough on headers. By 23, he could work on that, or 24 and work on that and be absolutely outstanding. And it just clicks all of a sudden. Or it can go the other way and he get worse, which we don't want, but it does happen.
Well, players, I think obviously we've talked, players will develop at different rates. People will achieve things at different times and stuff like that. Usain Bolt was 20th in the world for about 4 years and then just suddenly it all clicked into gear and bosh. Everyone thought Justin Gatlin was going to absolutely destroy that 100 metres, doped up and everything, because he was. And then Bolt just came out and destroyed him because he worked out how to work in his size and get it all functioning correctly. I think where I'm at with it in terms of these young centre-backs is all of them cost 70 to 100 million, apart from Sepp. And you've got your first choice of Van Dijk and Konate, that's still going to be there next year. Kwanzaa's coming through. Gomez is the ultimate utility Swiss Army knife. There's no harm in giving him a year, is there?
No.
There's no harm in seeing if he can make it. There's no harm in giving him games, because why are you going to spend £100 million to give someone less than 20% of the games? Because that's what you're going to have to do unless Van Dijk gets injured, because you're going to sign a left centre-back because Kwanzaa and Konate are right centre-backs. So you're asking someone to be Van Dijk's understudy. It's like when Spurs for years were trying to sign another striker to play behind Harry Kane. We're never going to play you, but do you want to come and sign for us? No. So I think we're in that sort of situation. And I would rather we spend 100 million getting something we really need. I'd go for Davis at Bayern. I think a future left back to take over from Robertson would be. I know you love Kostas, Kev. I know you.
To be fair to the Greek lad, before he got his injury,
he was good, wasn't
he? He stepped up. But I'll be honest, at the start of the season, I had a heart attack as soon as Robinson got his injury, because I didn't think he was up to the level. And again, it shows probably a bit of naivety for myself and a lack of patience for someone who hasn't played as much as him. But when he's given a run of games and he gets the confidence, he proved that he was actually a decent left back and had done a good job. And it's a shame what's happened to him. So rightly, I will support him when he does well. But I'll be honest back when he doesn't do well, because being in this 11 comes with, if you're in the starting 11, you're in there for a reason, and you will be criticised by everyone. And you only have to look at poor Curtis Jones over the last 18 months, and now everyone's backtracking on what they've said. Also, Harvey Elliott as well, who I think this year, his enthusiasm at the start of the season instills what Bill Shankly wanted out of all of his players, which is the enthusiasm's the first thing, more than talent. And you look at his enthusiasm when he comes on that pitch; it's great to see, and it's great that we've got the young players coming through, and those who've taken a little bit of a knock over the last 18 months have proven people wrong and the doubters wrong, and rightly so. More good luck to them, and the more we have of that, the better. But if you're asking me now, I'd be willing to let Gerrard take Kostas as long as we can find a valid replacement for him. So yeah, so
I think James, it's what you said regarding Van Dijk, and Kev's just said the same. Then any player coming in, when our first top 11 players are out there, it's really hard to say, do you want to come in and just sit on the bench, because you might play every now and then for any position. And that goes for all the top sides. It's really difficult to find top quality players who are just going to sit there and go, thanks very much for my monthly paycheck, blah, blah, blah. I'll just sit here and just maybe one day I'll get a run of, a few minutes here and there. It's like most footballers who've got anything about them will say, no, I'd rather play every week. So it's a difficult balancing act.
Well, we're going to move on to the final thing we've got planned, which is obviously Jordan Henderson's had his contract ripped apart, put through the shredder. Nobody wants him. Get out. So I thought it was only a good idea that we go, well, actually, let's look at this Liverpool squad. I know, Matty, you're going to want to get rid of Curtis. I know before you even start. Which Liverpool player's contract are you going to want to rip up, put through the shredder, and save us a little bit of money? I am not accepting an answer of nobody. You have to put a contract through the shredder.
Oh.
In the chat, if you are new here, please like and subscribe to the channel. We go live every day. But give me the name in the chat, and we will talk about the names you give in the chat and your justifications for it, of the player's contract you would put through the shredder. And you can't say the same ones as each other. So I will do it on a random basis, which is Kings you sort class. So it's between Kev, you can go first. You're the regular. You get to go first.
has to be Adrian for me. I don't see the point in playing him a contract for me. I don't know whether it's because I'm an ex-goalkeeper myself, but no, it's a no for me. If it's not him, it'll be Nat Phillips. So one of those.
If he's on what 60 grand, 50 grand, 30 grand a week, Adrian, is it something like that? 30 grand a week. Kelleher's on 10, and Kelleher's the number 2. And there's no reason if you're Kelleher you're being linked to leaving Liverpool, because you're 25, you could probably get yourself 30, 40 grand a week quite comfortably as a number 2 or as a number 1 playing further down the leagues. So Adrian getting that is he's living the dream, isn't he? He's living the dream.
Well, it's you know what I mean. It is, but I know Matty's going to put me in my place for saying that. Like, so, and rightly so. But for me, if personally, it's just Adrian. I just don't see the point in having someone there as doing nothing, basically. Just warming up every game and just go and sit down on the bench and have a laugh and a joke. It's great. Pay me to do that. I'll be happy to do that.
He wouldn't even get on the bench.
Well, he does for certain games, doesn't he? He does for the League Cup games, doesn't he, and all like that. So, but
he gets a free ticket to games and paid to turn up. To put more pressure on Matty Kings, I'm going to come to you next. Who's going in the shredder?
I've really had to think of this one because, quickly going through the team and the players, and you think, you know what? Yeah, he's decent. He's this, that, he's fine. So I'm going to go at a push. I'll go Tsimikas because he's not as good as Robertson. To be fair, when he's played, I don't have a major issue with him, but I'm trying to really think this one out as in a proper weak link that you go, right, okay, go through the midfields. And of course, some of them we just brought in, so I'm not going to shred their contracts. And you look up front and you're like, right, it's going to have to be him, I think. And then they could maybe get a different, because Gomez can cover there. So it's not like we haven't got anybody else behind Robertson.
Owen Beck's come back. You saw Klopp on the bench, sort of giving him the coaching run through, didn't you, when he brought him back from Dundee?
So even though I've just said, you've got to find players who are willing to sit behind like the star players and go, yeah, I'll just sit here. Yeah, it'll be him because I was going to go Adrian, but then it got stolen. So
sorry, King.
So I'll go with him.
Matty.
Stitched him right up now.
It's a hypothetical. It's not going to happen.
Nah. I'm not even going to use Nat Phillips because I'll let Kev have his 2. I'll name someone else. Nat Phillips. I've never met a lad. I've never met him, but he's absolutely smashing him, isn't he? Got Liam Gallagher as his father-in-law, and on 65 grand a week to just not even do anything. Like, he should go. But for me, it's Reece Williams. For me, he's got.
That was what I had in my head.
Reece Williams will never be good enough to play for Liverpool Football Club professionally. That one season where he was absolutely fantastic and secured the Champions League with Nat, and he was fair play to the lad. No one thought he could do it. He'd done it. He's not good enough to play for Liverpool consistently, and his low moves show that. Like Jamie has just said, he's just went to Port Vale. He's been at like the Harriers and stuff. That level, it isn't. He's probably above that level, but he's not Premier League Liverpool Football Club challenge on all fronts level. And it's about the sooner we accept that, the better. We've seen Galazzo go this January. I think he was left for nothing. But he kept getting all these stupid low moves. And that's not fair on the kid either, because their career is hampered by moves everywhere. They can't settle down, develop under one manager. And that's what's happening with Reece Williams. So for me, I would do him a favour and shred his contract up, because he's still taking these low moves. When it's all well and good working under different managers, different environments and stuff, but he's not got any consistency in his game. He's going to too many different sides, where if he was to just get his contract shredded, go to a side probably League One, Championship, and work his way up, who knows, we might see him in a side that gets promoted to the Prem, and we see him in the Premier League that way. But I do think that he needs to just go. He's getting all these stupid low moves. We see it with quite a few of our academy prospects who don't make it. They get all these snide low moves. Leighton Stewart was another one. I know he had his injury as well, but he's finally just left himself because he's got more drive and he's went to Preston. He's not playing every week. He's in and around first team setup. They're learning that way. Same manager, same league, and he's able to settle and progress. And that's where I think Reece Williams is. It's mad. I don't understand why we just keep loaning him out. Just sell him. You're not going to sell him. Just let him go for nothing. It's absolutely pointless because I can guarantee Port Vale aren't matching 100% of his wages a week. There's no way. He got a good deal, didn't he? I mean, what?
Is that why Paul Glatzel's left us as well? Do you reckon he was going down the same kind of route, or with his injuries and that? And I think we've kind of took a decision, right? We'll get shut. Sad in a way, do you know what I mean? Because he has looked well in the games.
Yeah. I think that's why what we're doing with Williams. Even though he's not going to make it, so we're just loaning him out to the level that he probably should be at. And that's what we're doing with Glatzel. And his injuries did hamper his career. He had very high hopes, and he probably would have made a decent Prem level, potentially at Liverpool as a squad option. Williams, I don't even think's got that, to be honest. Like, we had that season.
He's not quick. No. He's a really slow player, and for the way Liverpool play, I think it just highlights he needs to play in a more defensive team. Like your West Ham, that block you out and stuff.
Like, when you look at him in these sides, he doesn't look great. Nat Phillips at Celtic was crap. So why have we brought him back? And we're just going to loan him out again. We're not going to sell him because no one's going to pay him 65 grand a week. So he's just going to say, I'll sit here. Just wait till my contract's up. And that's what he's doing. And that's exactly what Reece Williams is going to do as well. We need to be more lethal and just be like, when they aren't going to make it sound, shake your hand. You've done us a good service. Unfortunately, we have the club for you. Because they're that brutal when they're like 8 years of age. So why aren't they that brutal when they're like 21?
Yeah.
Mad.
So the player I would shred the contract of, and you're not going to like it.
I know what you're going to say.
Thiago.
Go. Yeah, I knew he was going to say that.
And the reason I have got logic behind this, so let me feed it through.
I hope it's just not salary based.
No. The amount of money that we're paying Thiago, I would lock out Trent's contract. I would lock out Curtis Jones' contract. I would lock out Harvey Elliott's contract. I would redistribute our money to our up-and-coming leaders because they deserve, like Curtis Jones deserves to be on 50, 60 grand a week. The Canate level. Trent deserves to be on second highest. He deserves to be on Van Dijk. I know he's on 185, but he deserves the over 200 lockout. So I would take the Thiago money and I would redistribute it to the players that are actually going to be the future. So I would lock out Canate's contract over 100. It's definitely worth it now. As much as I think he's great, I think he's not going to be readily available. He doesn't fit the way that we're going to play moving forward, as spectacular a player as he is. I think we've got to think about the long term for the club. And I would rather we give Matip an extension than Thiago.
Just trying to win over that way there, James. What's he thinking? Trying to win over by saying give Matip. Nah, can't go. Shred Thiago. So he is the only player I can remember in my life that we've brought in who's been world class when we brought him in.
I completely agree.
Made. He is world class. Probably one of the top 5 midfielders in the world when he's fit. And you're saying shred them off.
You just what is the number one attribute for a great footballer? Availability. And he's not available. So what would you rather have? Trent, Curtis, Harvey, locked down, who are ready, available, fit, fighting, or pay someone like
Liverpool Football Club, we can lock all them down anyway. We're one of the most financially stable football clubs in the world. We can lock all them down tomorrow without even affecting us. Thiago, yeah, he's always injured, but the amount of experience, knowledge, information that he's passing on to, say, someone like Bajcetic, who is probably very going to end up very similar to Thiago. He can do the 6 well, he can do the 8 expertly. The knowledge he's passing on, Bajcetic is Spanish. He probably grew up idolizing someone like Thiago, and he's learning from him every single day. Seen it with Stevie G and Gary Mack. I always use that reference. We've seen it with them. And Thiago being right. Even Milner, I would have kept him because as a professional, he's a model professional. Players learning from that's unbelievable. Like Elliott and Jones and Trent, they all speak about Milner, all of them, and that's the influence he has. And it's the same with Thiago. I think, yeah, he's on a lot of money, but that's the amount of money you need to pay for someone of his quality. But we could probably got him on the cheap, really. And that's because he's always injured. We knew he was always going to be injured, and this is the first time in his whole Liverpool career he's been able to be used as a luxury midfielder. He's still returning from the injury he sustained last year. We owe him the chance to be that luxury midfielder. And if he excels in it for the next 10 games, which I know he will, he deserves an extension in my eyes. Genuinely, he's that good. Because when he's fit, and I think we overplayed him for 2 seasons, the minute he was even at the ounce of being back, he was on the bench. This year, what we've seen, what's different with Thiago, is we're not rushing him back. He could, if this time last season, the way Thiago is now, he'd be on the bench. He's not now. And
the only part I disagree with you on is what we've seen from Thiago is nothing.
Nothing.
So we're not rushing him back, but we've not seen anything yet.
Oh.
We've seen a couple of Instagram posts. We've seen a couple of pictures.
Matty nearly had an absolute heart attack then and breakdown.
He's not even. But there's elements of, again, it's pick a contractor thing, and obviously it's not going to happen. I have no problem.
James, the thing about it is it's very opinionated, so people will have their own ones that they want to go with, and they, it's not about we all agree because what's that? But I'll be honest, for me, for what I've seen out of Thiago, that's limited time I've been able to see him over the last 3 years, it has been blessed. I have been blessed sitting in my seat and watching him play and think, how the hell has he played that through there? And I didn't even see it. And I'm above the game. It's staggering what that man can actually do, and his ability to orchestrate a football match is something to witness. The closest you'll get to it is watching an orchestra being, watching an orchestra being done. He is that instrumental. And if you want to know, if you look at him against Man United when we won 4-0, and how wax lyrical they were at half time and after the game of him during that game, he had them on a shoestring in that game, and it was an absolute blessing to be sat there and watching it live. It was. I would have paid double for what I witnessed that night because he was magical. But there's been times when he's done that again. His goal against Porto, oh my God, I'm still confused today if it touched the blade of grass or not. Do you know what I mean? It was that good. He is, it's.
I don't disagree.
It's amazing, but I think as fans and fans now we get caught up in the financials of a player rather than the ability and not understanding that quite rightly he hasn't played this season, but it's that's because of the way how bad our first 11's been over the last 12 months, and the fact that we played them out of position, brought them back a lot quicker than we need to, and that goes for Van Dijk as well, by the way, after his injury as well. We brought him back because we needed them back and we needed players in there rather than going and doing what we've done this season with playing. That's why it's kind of frustrating for me looking at Thiago, wishing that this was 12 months ago, because this is just, he would have, this was what we brought him for, just perfectly, just picking them, strategically playing them in certain games and going, right, we know you're made of a quaver, but don't worry about it. We'll put you on the bench. Do you know what I mean? That's what you do with someone like Thiago. The ability's there, and even when he comes back, the drop off won't be that much. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't think you've been playing for the last 10, 15 weeks or for the X amount of games. It's that good for me.
5 games he'll come back for before he gets injured again. Because he came back in April last year. On the 7th of April, he came back. On the 27th of April, he was injured again, and he was out for 55 games after that. So for the 5 games he comes back, he will be outstanding because it's all in his head. He sees everything in his head. And we know that. We know, obviously, he's probably the most intelligent footballer in the Premier League. I think, for me, and the reason we talk about it from a monetary perspective is you have to remember, for these people, it's a job. For us, it's what we love. For them, it's a job. So it's a financial compensations thing. And then you've got to think about organizational culture when you've got someone who's not playing, getting paid 100 grand more a week than you in for example, a Trent. Or if you're on 15 grand a week Curtis Jones level, and you've got someone on 250 grand a week, and he's a great person. Thankfully, I think he's a good egg, not like an Aubameyang or an Özil who's just all about me. But there's a balance to that, I think. And there's a point in a culture where it goes, actually, this person is getting paid a load of money and I'm working my ass off and carrying them. It's a bit like you doing all the work for your manager who's getting all the bonuses. And sometimes that can debalance the culture. So I think there's an area where he either comes back and he plays, and hopefully he plays for the thing, and I get he's a luxury, and I get he knows he's there as an experienced player, like what Milner was. Or I think if he can't come back from this, we sell him to a slower league, because he might need a slower league.
True.
To be fair, James, I'll go with the other two, and it sounds like the three of us are ganging up on you because
Fine, don't you worry, I'm looking at this.
I mean, to be fair, your points are all valid. I can see the finance side of it, and I understand what you're saying with Curtis's wages, and he's doing all the work on the field, now starting to get more plaudits. Yes, he deserves a massive increase on his contract. The thing with Thiago is, if he comes back, and just plays, say, 10 games, even if, like Kev said, even if he hasn't played for that long, he can stand on the centre spot and he could still control that game. He doesn't have to do a lot of running because his brain's that good. He'll just spray that ball around, and they'll just be like, wow, look at that. And he's been out the game for the year, and look what he's doing, kind of thing. And if we've got the way the club are, like we were saying about Matip, we're very good. We'll say he's been out now and we'll give him a new contract. What's the difference with Thiago then? Say to him, listen, take another year. You've lost a year. Take another year. Say again.
That would be history, surely. Like Matip has longevity. How long has Thiago been here? 3 years?
Yeah.
Injured for one?
Four with this one, isn't it?
Matip's been...
Yeah, but Thiago deserves. We've done it for everyone. Give him a year. I agree.
Yeah, I think definitely give him a chance to win his last year.
Wins the league and then go off injured again. Almost certain that something like that will happen.
Is he not worth it though? He is worth 9.8 million a year in non-play games if he's going to come back and win us the league. 100%.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If he comes back and he makes an impact, he's worth it.
Yeah. I think
that's
he will.
The nature of sport, isn't it?
Yeah, he will make the impact like Kings. 100%, 100 million %. I'd pay him $1 million a week. Pay him $1 million a game if he wants. We're blessed. It's not our money either. Sod John Henry, do you know what I mean? We can afford to pay him. If we couldn't, we wouldn't have got him. I don't care. If we say to him, you can have another deal. Yeah, reduce your wage slightly, because Milner did reduce his wages when he knew he weren't playing as much. If he reduces his wage slightly and we have him in a year deal, yeah, Liverpool football Twitter will be in arms. But the genuine fans who genuinely want what's best for the club will be happy about that. He more than deserves, in my opinion, a new deal. Yeah, he's not always available, but is him in the dressing room and knowing how he's getting back from injuries, the knowledge he can pass on to players, to midfielders, that's only going to benefit us. Look at Jones. He got so much bloody hate off everyone all the time, but he's learned from Steven Gerrard, and now I'm not saying he's anywhere near Gerrard's level, because he's not, nowhere near, but he's now proven that. Yeah, he's a different player, but he's learned from him. He's learned his mentality to not give up. Now, Gerrard, he come in and he was brilliant, but he wasn't like you said, he did have a bad patch as well. And Jones has had that bad patch. Yeah, he's had a few injuries, but players like that, they're all learning from your players like Thiago, so they're worth it.
I would trade contracts, Thiago's contract and Trent's contract, and then I'm good for the next 2 years. Like that's like what, 80 grand a week reduction in Thiago, I think, for another 2 years around. That I can see the logic with.
I thought Trent might have got it when he got made vice captain. I was quite surprised that we didn't get it with that announcement, really. I think Trent will get it. Now, since Salah's had that big deal, they're all going to get a slight increase. Like Van Dijk's the captain of the club. You watch stopping him going in and having a clause like Gerrard did with ease on that unmatched. And he deserves it. I do think we will see a lot of bigger contracts within Liverpool now. Obviously getting big sponsorships and making more money off the Nike deal and stuff. So I think Trent will get 250, to be fair. probably be announced towards the end of January, because we do always seem to announce contracts in January in the summer for some reason.
Well, it's better than the transfer, isn't it? That's the thing. It's announcement time.
I do think he'll get it. I think him, Van Dijk, Jones, and Salah will all get new deals this month, or Salah when he's back from AFCON.
There you have it. So we're going to put through the shredder, not Thiago's contract, despite my best efforts. However, the contracts that were taken away from me from choosing were Adrian in the shredder, Nat Phillips, what a life, Reece Williams, nothing against you, it's just you're not going to make it at Liverpool, and it's probably best to move on to improve your career. And Kostas Timikas, nothing against you, Kostas, you're a great guy, but
it wasn't me.
It wasn't Kev. This is LFC Transfer. Thank you very much to Kings, Matty, and Kev. Kev squared with the Kev and Kings at the bottom. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you've got a player that you want to shred the contract of, like El Etihad did to Henderson, make sure you put it in the comments, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care.